Hey everyone! So today we are going to be learning how to draw some radial design snowflakes. So the supplies that we're going to need is a piece of paper, a ruler, you're going to need a popsicle stick, or you can use a coin or even like the back of like a fork or a spoon for some rubbing that we're going to have to do. And of course a pencil and a Sharpie. So you want to make sure to go ahead and get those materials before we get started. You may also need a pair of scissors. Once you have your supplies, what we're going to do is we first need to turn our rectangular paper into a square. So the easiest way to do that is to take the top corner and I'm going to fold it down to the bottom. Now, the corner is not touching the other corner. I've just folded it so that the edge of the paper is now at the bottom edge. And I'm gonna crease it. And what it should look like is a triangle with a rectangle left on the side. So you want it to be nice and even at the bottom, but it should look like a triangle with a rectangle on the side. Now what we're gonna do is we are going to get rid of this rectangle. So if you have a pair of scissors handy, you can go ahead and cut that piece off. If you don't, you can do a tearing technique. So let me show that way in case you don't have a pair of scissors. So what I'm gonna do is with this rectangle, I'm gonna take it, I'm just gonna fold it over, and I'm gonna fold it back the opposite way. And I'm really making sure to give it a nice good crease. And I can do this a couple times. And then once I have it creased, I'm going to take it, I'm gonna hold my triangle here, and then I'm gonna take the corner of the rectangle, and I'm just gonna pull it down. And you can see it just tears off nice and easily. As I said, if you have a pair of scissors, sometimes it's easier to just cut it off. So then we are left with a square piece of paper. So now what I want to do is I want to fold my square into 4 sections. So I'm going to take my top of my paper, fold it down to the bottom. Then I'm going to open it back up and I'm going to fold it the other direction. So now I have 4 squares. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it back up and then fold it down so that all I am left with is my smallest square. And then we are going to be drawing on this one square. So a trick to help me remember where the center of my snowflake is going to be is that will be the middle of the paper. So I'm just going to draw a little dot where that middle part is. That way it just helps me remember that this is the center of my paper and that I'm not accidentally doing it like on one of the outside corners. Then you can take your ruler if you have one, and from that center out to the corner, I'm going to just draw a diagonal line. And then once I have my line, this is going to help guide me as I go to make my shapes for my snowflake. Now, of course, snowflakes can be very different in the types of patterns that they have. And we're going to use shapes to create this. So you can use geometric shapes, which are shapes like squares, rectangles, triangles, things that have straight lines and those points to it that are man-made shapes. Or you could use organic shapes that are more curvy and wavy and a little bit more asymmetrical, meaning they're not the same on each side. Either way, whatever design you do is perfect. So I'm going to start along this center line here, and I think I'm going to create I'm going to use some lines to make a triangle shape. Then I think I'm going to make some circles. Now, of course, if you want to make perfect circles, you can always find something that you can trace to make a circle, or you can hand draw it. And my circles, what I'm going to do is each time I draw one, they're going to get a little bigger. Almost looks like I got a snowman in the middle. Then I want to come up with another design. So I think for this bottom part, I'm going to make a diamond shape. so there is my design going through the center. Now, I also want to create a design on each side of my paper as well. You could also make lines kind of coming out from the center, and as I'm looking at it, I kind of want to add maybe a design. And of course, as I'm doing this, I'm trying to make it symmetrical. So whatever I create on one side, I want to create on the other. Now, of course, since I'm hand drawing this, it's not gonna be perfect. Like this one's a little smaller than this one, and that is okay. And then for this edge, I'm gonna create another kind of design. So I think I'm going to make that type of shape. And I'm gonna repeat it by just adding a little triangle in the middle. So since I did this on this side, I have to do it on this opposite side as well. Again, trying to make them match as closely as I can. Again, since I'm hand drawing, it's not gonna be perfect, and that is okay. I am just trying my best to make them as similar as possible. And there is my design. So I think I'm gonna leave it there. I wanna keep it nice and simple. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it up, and I want to transfer the design that I have made here onto all the other squares of my paper. So to do that, I'm going to need either my popsicle stick. As I said, you can use a coin, like a nickel or a quarter, or like even the back of like a spoon or a fork works great, but something that I can rub the paper with. So I'm gonna take the pencil side, so where I have this pencil showing, and I'm gonna fold it over so it's on the inside and it is facing down onto the clean piece here. And then whatever you have to scrape with, you're gonna take that. If you're using a popsicle stick, hold it like you would a pen or a pencil, and you're gonna scrape using the edge. You don't wanna do this flat, you don't wanna do it on the side. It's not gonna give it enough pressure to really push the pencil onto the other side, which is what we're wanting. So again, kind of using whatever object you have on its edge, and then doing this scraping motion. As I do this, you can see that it's lightly starting to transfer it onto the other side, enough that I can see it. And that's all we need. It's not going to show up super dark. You just want it on there enough that you can see it so that you can trace it. Making sure I'm getting all the way to my edges, but I'm holding my paper down so I don't accidentally rip my paper. And then there is my design. So now that I have it on this side, I want to take my pencil again and go ahead and trace it. So now that I have it transferred to the two sides, now what I need to do is I need to take both of these and get them onto my bottom pieces. So I'm gonna repeat the same step. I'm going to take the pencil side here, I'm gonna fold it down onto the opposite sides, and then I am going to scrape it. And you're gonna do this for both of them. Okay, so now that it is lightly transferred, I want to do the same thing and trace over it again with pencil, making sure that I am keeping the design the exact same. Okay, so now that I have my design all ready and in all four squares, now the next step is to go ahead and Sharpie. Okay, so once you're done Sharpieing, now we are going to move on to color. Now, for color, of course, you can use whatever you have at home, but I wanted to demo and show you how you can use washable markers and create almost kind of like a watercolor look to your snowflakes. So again, you can use whatever you have available at home, but if you want to use this technique and you have washable markers, it's something really fun that you can do. So what you're gonna need is, like I said, washable markers and a cup of clean water and a paintbrush. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a couple colors that I want to have. So I'm gonna pick more wintry colors. Like I'm gonna do some blue, maybe some purple. I could even add a little bit of gray. Now, of course, you can choose whatever colors you like. So if you wanna go more bright colors, that is perfectly fine. But I think I'm gonna stick to some of more of the wintry looking colors. And I'm gonna choose some areas that I want to have as certain colors. So let's say I want these areas to be more on the blue side. I'm gonna take my blue marker and I'm just gonna trace along the edge of the shape. So I'm just tracing along the edge. I'm not fully coloring anything in. And I'm gonna do this to all of the sides. Okay, so once I've added the blue, then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to want to take my paintbrush with just water. And I want the snowflake to still look like a snowflake. So I want white showing, but what this does is it's going to just add a little bit of color, but also keep that whiteness for the snowflake. So I'm gonna take my clean brush, and it's not super watery, and I'm just gonna go over the blue line. And you can see it starts to blend a little bit and start to spread into the other parts of the design. So it's making kind of like a lighter blue that kind of fades to a white in the middle. So this is just like a fun effect that you can do with your color. And again, I'm just kind of tracing along the blue with my clean brush. And all my brush has on it is water. Okay, so now that I have the blue done, I want to start adding in some of my other colors, or I can even repeat colors. So like I said, I'm going to be using kind of mixes of blues, purples, and grays. Okay, so now I am done painting or coloring my snowflake. So again, my friends, you can use whatever techniques you want to color, or if you want to try out the markers and water, it is really fun to do, and I can't wait to see what you create.